Hello everyone. Welcome Aber.
Hello, dear Zeynep.
Today, I have 3 questions for you about the psychology of jealousy. If you like, let's get started.
I'm ready.
Now, when does jealousy cross a healthy boundary and start to harm us?
If jealousy has become the center of our lives, it already starts to diminish our quality of life. Yes. Of course there will be jealousy in the relationships. By the way, we're not just talking about romantic or marital relationships. People can even be jealous of the mug they drink their coffee from. But this shouldn't mean that, let me put it concretely, if someone else drinks coffee from that mug, I can never attach the same meaning to it again. If such a situation or belief arises, that's when it crosses the line and becomes unhealthy. Yes, I hope that the example was clear.
Yes, I understand. Because once it crosses the line, it actually reaches a point where it affects our daily lives. So, there's this thing called retroactive jealousy that's been talked about a lot lately. I come across it in a lot of short videos. It's mostly about relationships anyway. What is this type of jealousy and why has it become so widespread?
Yes. Now let's look at this type of jealousy in this way. We can simply describe it as comparing oneself to the past. Let me give an example. It's a toxic form of jealousy that arises when you compare your girlfriend's or boyfriend's behaviors or attitudes in their previous relationship to their behaviors and attitudes in your current relationship. I'm trying to explain it as simply as possible. By the way, I know the sentences are complicated, but forgive me. So, what's the unhealthy part here? It usually makes relationships toxic. And if we put the emotional side aside and look at it purely logically, this is an unnecessary behavior. Actually, it's important to focus on what's at the root of it. First of all, let me explain this. Every person exhibits different behaviors and attitudes when they're in relationships with different people. The fact that the person you're in a relationship with doesn't act the way they used to doesn't mean they don't love you. Or the fact that they're not the same person they were before you came into their life doesn't mean they don't love you. You and your partner, the dynamics of your relationship are like this, and as a result, a certain pattern of behavior has emerged. First of all, this is where what we call compatibility comes into play. The dynamics of the relationship, the compatibility, and so on are like this. Now, when it comes to retroactive jealousy, there's also this situation. What happens is completely illogical and far from healthy reasoning, making assumptions about someone by comparing them to their behavior in previous relationships. So what does that mean? Was it like this before? Did they used to act this way? He acts this way towards me. For example, let's say a woman thinks her boyfriend doesn't buy her enough flowers or gifts. She might start having hypothetical paranoias about what kinds of gifts and flowers he gave in his previous relationship. Of course, this also makes their attitude more toxic. So how does this manifest in their behavior? People generally don't do this. They don't ask, in your previous relationship, you used to get a lot of flowers and gifts, right? Or did you? They don't ask that either. Instead, they reflect it in a toxic way like this. You've changed a lot. I don't think you're the same as before. You used to value and care about your previous relationships more. I don't feel like I'm getting the value I deserve in your eyes. Of course, the boyfriend who isn't aware of what's going on is initially shocked by this. So what's really underlying this? Is it really that? I mean, is it really the thought that he's not giving you the value you deserve? Or is it a lack of self-confidence or a fear of losing you? Please ask yourself this question.
Yes, or connection problems.
Yes, when it comes to retroactive jealousy, attachment issues already tend to surface.
There will be a video about this as well.
All right.
In general, how can we deal with these types of jealousy in a healthy way?
Now, I always say this. People should be self-confident. Now, in relationships, no matter what kind of relationship it is, whether it's a business partnership, a romantic relationship, a friendship, and so on, because we can develop attachments, we can become dependent on these, and that's not healthy either. People should trust themselves first and foremost, rather than people they are in a relationship or communication with.
They need to understand their own essence. They need to love themselves because the other person is shaped accordingly.
Yes, it's taking shape. And I observe this in many of my clients as well. In fact, we can even see their attitudes toward their past relationships and if they're still in contact, how they behave. For example, people who were bullied a lot by the spouse in the previous marriage and later divorce, but still have to stay in contact because of their child. Notice that when they change their own behavior, their ex-spouses are no longer the same as before. And they are very surprised by this, you know?
Yes.
Look, we always say this in our sessions. Only if you change can the world change. We can't expect the other person to change their behavior if we don't change ourselves first. By the way, Zainab is also a family counselor.
Yes.
Hopefully, we'll see her in front of the camera one day too. People who have retroactive jealousy or lack self-confidence tend to invest more than necessary financially, emotionally, and in terms of time into the relationship, so it becomes harder for them to let go. All of these things trigger each other. But the solution to all of these is self-respect. Self-confidence means setting boundaries.
Since we'll be publishing longer videos in the future, we'll be able to cover more detailed topics.
I'm sure that you have plenty of experiences with situations like these. Please share them in the comments. We're curious about your experiences.
I have no questions.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope this has been informative for you as well. Let's meet in the comments.
And
Please don't forget to like and subscribe.
see you in our next video.